We are back with the weekly fragrance rotation, and this week I pulled out some bangers, so stay tuned. Hey, what's going on, guys? Hunter here, and welcome back to my channel where I upload weekly fragrance content. So hit that subscribe button and be sure to follow my Instagram page. But that's correct, guys. I know it's been, I think, 2 months since the last weekly fragrance rotation, but we are back. You guys have been asking for this, and I missed this series as well. And if you are familiar with this series, I pretty much tell you what fragrances I chose on each day, the kind of weather, how many sprays, and of course, if we got any compliments or not. So let's just get right into Sunday. So Sunday happened to be Mother's Day, so shout out to all the moms out there. I hope you enjoyed your day. On that day though, it was in the mid 70s, I believe, and I pulled out a very hyped up cheapie, and that is Missoni Wave. Now, on that day, I did do 8 sprays of Missoni Wave. It was kind of cloudy, gloomy, which this doesn't work the best for. It's more suited for like a hot summer sunny day. But for some reason, I was just looking at my collection, and this is a great dumb reach. If you're not familiar with Missoni Wave, it does get compared to Chanel Allure Homme Sport. But to be honest, I prefer this so much more. I'm not really a big fan of Allure Homme Sport, to be honest with you. This is a little bit more of an aquatic take on that DNA. I also did do 8 sprays of Missoni Wave, got no compliments on that day, but I really enjoy this fragrance, and it's getting harder and harder to find. So if you do come across this, definitely pull the trigger on it. So heading into Monday, it was also in the mid 70s. However, it was a very nice sunny day outside, and I decided to pull out the Aventus Killer, and that is Nishane Hacivat. I just finally recently got this bottle in my collection. It's been long overdue. I absolutely love Hacivat. It is very similar to Creed Aventus, at least in the opening, with that very juicy pineapple note. But as it dries down, it goes into a completely different route with this very earthy oak moss dominant note. So if you're a fan of oak moss, this is one you absolutely must check out. On that day, I did do 8 sprays of Hacivat, which might be overkill. I know a lot of you probably cringing at that because you probably do mostly like 3 sprays tops. But I am an oversprayer. I don't care what people think of my fragrance. I'll make sure everybody smells me in the room. This stuff is definitely beast mode, and 8 sprays is overdoing it. I will admit that because of how strong this fragrance is. But yeah, I love Hacivat and so glad to finally have this in the collection. Tuesday was also in the low mid 70s. It was also kind of a gloomy, cloudy day as well. And I put out another fragrance in that same realm as Aventus, and that is Mind Games Blockade. Now, this is actually a tropical take on that DNA. You have this very exotic tropical mango in the top, which changes it up a little bit. This stuff is an absolute banger. I know it is very expensive, but I think if you're gonna get a Mind Game or a fragrance from this house, however, Blockade is one I would highly recommend you get. I would say it is a little bit more crowd pleasing to the public than Aventus as well. But on that day, I did do 6 sprays of Blockade, a little bit less. And this stuff is pretty strong. It's nowhere near as strong as Hacivat though. It is also an extrait de parfum just like Hacivat, so you are getting a good longevity and performance from it. I got no compliments on that day though. But if you love Aventus, you love that DNA, definitely check out Blockade by Mind Games. For Wednesday, it was in the low 70s, and I remember in the morning it was very, very cold, like in the 30s even. So I wanted to put out a spicy tobacco fragrance, and I actually put out a cologne because unfortunately I do not own the real thing of this, which is weird. I should have it, and that is Dolce's Powdery Tobacco. This is, of course, a clone of Tom Ford's Tobacco Vanille, which is like a must-have from the private blends. It's a staple. It represents Tom Ford. And for some reason, out of all the private blends I own, I do not have Tobacco Vanille. So I definitely need to get that to my collection. Even though Powdery Tobacco nails the Tobacco Vanille DNA, you of course get that very spicy vanilla, a nice dry earthy tobacco as well. And to me, this actually smells like a candle. Whenever I wear this, it literally just smells like a house candle on me. Which isn't really a bad thing. It just kind of gives off that vibe instead of like a fragrance or a cologne. On that day, I did do 8 sprays of powdery tobacco. And to be honest with you, this actually does perform pretty good for being a cologne or a fragrance from Dolce. I don't really have any complaints with this house when it comes to performance, at least, which is good, especially for the prices you can find these at. I think they even have these at Walmart now, which is crazy. Got no comments on that day, but I did really enjoy this fragrance, and I will be getting Tobacco Vanille very soon. All right, on Thursday, I actually pulled out one of my favorite tobacco fragrances in my entire collection, and it's the one and only zaharoff Nexos. Now, you probably have seen this fragrance. It's very, very popular. You, of course, get that nice kind of earthy tobacco, along with this sweet, kind of almost cloying honey note as well. But it also has these aromatic kind of fougere qualities too that just round it off very, very nicely and make it very complex. On that day, I did do 8 sprays of Nexos, which is a little bit overkill. This isn't a weak fragrance by any stretch of the imagination. It was also in the low 70s. It was sunny though, which is good. And I did switch up this fragrance later on in the evening after showering. Because later on in that day, I actually went over to Louis Vuitton. Of course, we all know the new Pacific Chill just dropped on that day. And the fragrance I decided to wear going out shopping is one of my favorite fragrances recently, and that is Sospiro Vibrato. Hands down, one of the best freshies I've smelled in a very, very long time. I'm obsessed with this fragrance. It's probably my most worn fragrances in the last couple months. You get a very photorealistic grapefruit in the opening of Vibrato, along with this zesty ginger and some green notes that give it a herbaceous touch. But I did wear this to Louis Vuitton and out shopping. I did do 8 sprays as well. No compliments, but wow guys, this could easily be my signature scent. Okay, on Friday, of course I had to wear the new Louis Vuitton since I picked it up the day prior. And of course that is Pacific Chill. Now on that day, it was still in the mid 70s. It's been like the same weather throughout the entire week. I cannot wait for it to start getting warmer. It was actually a rainy day as well. But guys, Pacific Chill, if you've seen my review, I did not give it the best review, and that's hard to do from me since I'm a huge Louis Vuitton fan. One of my favorite designer houses, hands down. But Pacific Chill just is not it, guys. It's a very weird DNA. It opens up with this lemony citron note along with some mint, but it dries down into this weird fuzzy fruity apricot note that just makes the DNA strange to me, along with these figs. So yeah, not my favorite Louis Vuitton at all. I would never recommend this over other freshies from Louis Vuitton. And the performance is absolutely whack. I get similar performance with Afternoon Swim, and we all know that fragrance does not perform that good at all. So yeah, just weird. I did do 4 sprays initially, had to reapply it like 3 hours later with another 4 sprays, so 8 sprays in total, and that barely lasted at all. So for $300, this is a hard pass for me. Obviously, I'm keeping it for the collection since this is my 12th Louis Vuitton in my collection now, and one of my least favorite ones. So wrapping the week off on Saturday, I put out a brand new fragrance in my collection, and it's one of the best fruity fragrances I've smelled in a long time, and that is Tiziana Terenzi's Kirkay. Now, this is probably the most popular from the entire Tiziana Terenzi's house. It is truly for good reason, especially if you love your fruity fragrances, because this opens up like a fruit cocktail. Very, very juicy. It is a little bit soapy too from these white florals in the mid, but then it dries down to a nice woody, musky base. And the performance is out of this world. Such a strong beast mode fragrance. It was also the coldest day of the entire week in the mid 60s. It was kind of like cloudy, dark, and gloomy outside as well. And with Kirkay, I did only 6 sprays of this one, and it easily lasts me the entire day, no problem at all. I still smell this off of my skin 8 hours into the day. So yeah, projection and longevity is out of this world with this fragrance. Got no compliments. I wasn't really around many people on that day, which is why. I actually think I prefer Kirkay over zaharoff Herba Pure because it's not as sickeningly cloying as that fragrance. But that's going to do it for my weekly fragrance rotation. And let me know down below the fragrances you guys chose to wear throughout the week. Leave a like on the video if you enjoyed it. Subscribe if you guys haven't already. And I'll see all of you back here in my next upload. Take care, everybody.